There was an old one. There was not an old toyman named Geppetto in a small town in a very old time. He made his living by selling toys from the wood he made. The only thing that the old toymaker is upset about is that he doesn't have a child. What wouldn't he give to have a child? One day he went to the forest to search for a log to make a new toy. Then he found a log just like he was looking for. "Here is a log just like I was looking for. I will make a very beautiful puppet with this." He gladly carried the log to the toy store as he was standing. He put it on the counter. He started to chip. As the Geppetto stumps the billet, ah ah. The voices were coming. "Geppetto master, where does the sound come from?" He thought. "I suppose it came to me like that." He passed. Then, the puppet started to shape its head, then the body, and then its arms and legs. Geppetto master finally finished the puppet. He made her sit on the chair. He started cleaning up. While he was cleaning up, he heard a voice saying hello. He turned his head to understand where the sound came from. There was nobody other than the puppet sitting on the chair around. He continued his job, thinking that he was wrong again. Soon, the puppet started dancing in the room, just as she jumped from the chair she was sitting on. Seeing what happened, the Geppetto master's mouth opened wide in confusion. "My God! This puppet is alive. Just like I want, he's a boy," he said. It was not made of bone, but just like a child, he laughed, ran, played. Taking the puppet boy into her arms, "You're like a real boy. Your name is Pinocchio," he said. The Geppetto master was never bored anymore, spending his days taking care of Pinocchio. After a while, he thought that Pinocchio should go to school. However, Pinocchio has neither a notebook nor a pen. Since there is no money in Geppetto master, he sold his coat and gave the money he received to Pinocchio. "Take it, boy, get yourself a pen and a pen for this money." He said to go to school beautifully. Pinocchio took the money in his palm and set off. He was walking in joy. Curiously he looked around, watching the shops, market stalls, and shouting people on the road. Meanwhile, the crowd at the beginning of the road caught his attention. He tried to dive into the crowd and find out what happened. A big colorful tent stood in front of the crowd. It was the circus tent that had just arrived in the city. The clown in front of the tent was shouting customers. Pinocchio wondered what was inside the tent, wanted to go through the crowd and enter the tent. The clown said he couldn't enter Pinocchio without money. Since Pinocchio was very curious about what happened inside, Geppetto extended the master's money to go to school. When he entered, he saw the puppets playing on the stage set in the middle of the tent. "Hey! These, like me, came out of the puppets on the stage, saying wooden." The crowd watching the puppets is angry at Pinocchio. "Get out of here, you are preventing us from seeing the scene," they reprimanded Pinocchio by saying. However, the circus owner holding the ropes attached to the puppets above the stage is very happy to see a live puppet. "A puppet that can move without such strings will save me a lot of money," he thought. As soon as the game ended, he caught Pinocchio in the cage. Geppetto started to cry, thinking that what happened to Pinocchio was his fault. Listening to the master's words and going to school, none of them would happen. The fairy godmother, who saw that the Pinocchio regretted him, went to him immediately. "You shouldn't have left your father's word. But I see you regret it. I will save you for this. But don't be naughty again. This is the money you give vinegar. Don't waste it in vain. Go to the right school," he said, taking Pinocchio out of the circus. Pinocchio coins started to move towards school. He was also singing. Seeing how Pinocchio walked by singing, the cunning fox and his friend Cat appeared in front of Pinocchio, saying, "How cheerful this puppet is, let's go to this side." "Pinocchio? Where are you going so jolly?" they asked. In Pinocchio, he said, "I'll take a notebook pen and go to school." The sly fox, "Do you have money to buy notebooks, pens?" he asked. Pinocchio showed the necessary money of his father. The cunning fox and cat, who saw the coins, decided to play a game and get them. Pinocchio too. Did you get a notebook pen, Pinocchio? He asked. However, he knew that he lost the fairy money to the cunning fox. Do not lie or I will punish you, he warned. Pinocchio lied without worrying about the warning. Notebook, I bought a pen. I left them to school, and when he said he was lying, his nose started to grow. As the fairy said that Pinocchio had to tell the truth, Pinocchio was making up other lies, and his nose was getting longer and longer. Now it has become such that it cannot turn its head to any side. He finally understood the mistake he made, explained the truth to the fairy, and the fairy restored Pinocchio's nose. By making a magic, he brought the money that he lost to the cunning fox into the hands of Pinocchio. By stimulating Pinocchio, don't waste these money in vain, go to the right school, he disappeared. Pinocchio coins started to walk by singing again. As he passed through a secluded place, he heard someone laugh out loud. At the same time, the circus owner, who confined him, appeared. Come on, let's see you here. I don't know how you got out of my hand last time, but now I will give you your punishment. Pinocchio fell into the sea, stuck on the water. It did not sink to the bottom, because Pinocchio was a wooden puppet, and the water was lifting itself. Pinocchio liked to stay on the water like this. He started swimming by moving his legs and arms. Whatever happened suddenly while swimming towards the shore? Pinocchio found himself in a dark place. It turns out that a huge fish swallowed Pinocchio. Now Pinocchio was standing in the stomach of the fish. Let the Pinocchio wait in the stomach of the fish, let us come to the Geppetto master. Geppetto master wondered Pinocchio, who did not come home. He became ill because he sold his coat to send Pinocchio to school. The patient fell ill to search for his son Pinocchio. Finally he reached the place where Pinocchio was thrown into the sea. He asked the fishermen here whether they saw his son. Fishermen also said that they saw the circus owner throwing Pinocchio into the sea. Geppetto begged one of the master fishermen to sail with his boat to help find his son. The fisherman, who knew the Geppetto master and knew how good he was, did not reject this request. They got on the boat together and sailed. After the boat traveled for a while, there was a strong wind. The boat could not withstand growing waves anymore, it suddenly fell over. The fisherman and the Geppetto master suddenly found themselves in the waves. Geppetto master began to sink into the sea bottom since he was both old and did not know how to swim. Meanwhile, the fish that swallowed Pinocchio swallowed the Geppetto master. Geppetto master also entered the lost stomach of the fish's throat. He heard the voice of a crying child in the stomach of the fish. He recognized this voice immediately. This was the voice of his son Pinocchio. Geppetto is very happy to find his master's son. Pinocchio too, Pinocchio, my son, my father, Geppetto. I'm so glad you're alive. I was so curious about you. Hearing his father's voice, Pinocchio hugged his neck in tears. I apologize for not listening to your word, Daddy, forgive me, I will never come out of your word again, he shed tears. Seeing that Pinocchio really regretted, the fairy girl decided to save them. Geppetto took Pinocchio out of the stomach of the fish and landed with the master. Pinocchio, who was very happy with their survival, took the path of their home just like their father had taken. Pinocchio has been such a smart boy since that day that he never got out of his father's word. He went to school every day. After school, she ran to her father and helped her with her work. The fairy girl saw that Pinocchio was a very good boy and decided to reward her. Pinocchio no longer made a spell, but a spell so that he was a normal child, not from wood. The magic happened. In her night bed, Pinocchio realized that she was suddenly returning to a normal child when she was about to sleep. He was no longer a wood, but a child made of meat and bone. He jumped from his bed with joy and ran to his father. When Geppetto master saw Pinocchio in this way, the worlds became his. Finally, I had a real son too, he said, embracing his son in tears of joy. Father and son lived happily until the end of their lives.